shall look at how to generate a menu and point the menu to a class. So on this current project, I have five navigation tabs. I have quite a number of main menu, the ones on green, and I have a number of sub menus too on each of the main menus. So for this particular data table I created and this MIS test, I am going to add it to the FPCU tab. So if I take us back to our folder structure, for this MIS project I'm currently working on, if I navigate to plugins, remember I added this MIS test table, I added it to the WAG2 plugin. So if I navigate down to WAG2, I would see a class for the WAG2 plugin. So this CNWP WAG2. This is where we can add the main menu from. So here, but before then, let me show you where all the menus are located, because this approach to adding it here is an addition to what we currently have. So where all the menus currently reside on is located in settings, package, NFWP, then menu. So if I go back to our provisioning where we defined our database names and other constants, if I look for ELA package, we would see the package is set to NFWP. So once I'm in my settings folder and I open package, would look for NFWP here. So in this menu file, this is where all the menus for the projects are defined. So but in our case we want to add to the menu, so we can do that from the plugin instead of coming here to start looking for where to add it. So directly from the plugins folder, we can add the menu by opening the class of the plugin. So this is my WAG2 plugin. This is the class for the plugin. So opening it, I can then, with this class variable plugin options, I can then add a main menu and add a sub menu. So in this main menu, as I've written here already, I can call it a new main menu as the title of the main menu. I don't need to bother myself about this too. Then the next one here is the tab. So this tab here helps us define where we want to place the main menu. Do we want to put it under FPCU? Do we want to put it under SPCU? Do we want to put it under system? So these are the different tabs in which we want our main menu to appear. So for this project, FPCU here, the key for this FPCU menu here is called MIS, and the key for SPCU is called state MIS. For LGA it's called LGA. For this it's called reports. For this it is called system. So for example, I want this menu now to appear under the MIS navigation menu, and I also want it to appear under the state MIS menu. All I need to do is just add a comma and include the key of the navigation menu. Then here in our sub menu, this is where we define all the sub menus we want to add beneath under this main menu. So in cases where we have access control as the main menu, all these beneath it are the sub menus. So in our case, I want to add one sub menu. The key, you can call it anything, so long whatever you call it, it can be referenced in this sub menu. So I have called it new MIS menu. Then I come to sub menu to define what the new MIS menu points to. So I need to give it a title, give it an action, and give it a class. So these two are particularly important because this is what defines where the button should point to. Now, if I go back to my FPCU and I click on FPCU, you can see I have new MIS menu here. If I go to my state also, you can see I have new main menu here. If I come to systems, I don't have it here. But if I come here and include system, and I come here to click on it again, you can see I have new main menu here. So this helps us define where under what navigation tab this menu should appear. So now to point this button, what should happen when I click this button? That is what this action and this class is. So now that we put our MIS test inside a plugin, so this is our MIS test. This is the data table we created. Like I said, upon generating class, it generates a class, a PHP class, and also generates the table. So it is located inside the NWP WAG2 plugin. So where it is pointing to, the plugin is what we are going to put as the class. So this is NWP WAG2 because it is inside the WAG2 plugin. Then our action, we leave it to execute. Then here where we have NWP action equals OSIC report, here we have to change it to the name of our table, the name of our class. So if I open the MIS class, this class we just generated, we can see if we scroll to the top on line 17, we have the table name as MIS test. So it's this table name here we are going to use as the NWP action. If you remember, this table name was the same name we used when we were creating the table. Whatever value we put here is what was translated to here and is what we will put here. And we also need to add NWP to do. So the to do is going to be, we want to show the data table. The function and the key to use to call the data table is display all records front end. So with this, I'm going to go back to my FPCU and click it from there. So now if I click on this button, it is meant to execute execute. Okay, so if I click on this button, it is going to point to the data table we just created here. So here we have the new edit, delete, refresh, the usual buttons we have here. So we can go and fill up the form and we'll be able to see our what we filled up to that data table. You can see it reflects. So when I was doing this at first, I did not define when I was creating the fields for MIS test. Remember this field here, this second option here. Our option list here was not defined. We did not define it. So I'm just going to show us that. So this second MIS option here, when we were filling it at first, we did not put a field option source, which is what I am going to do now. So here, so because this, if you remember, because this is a drop-down list, we have not populated the drop-down values for this particular field. Remember, we set here to list box class, but what we did not do was to give it a name. Get field option. So now that we've given it a function, this is to help us reuse it. So if we are to create another table and we want to have the same options, all we need to do is just put in this same key we have defined here. So now that I've made a change, I need to refresh all table fields. Having refreshed all table fields for this particular selected data table, I can go back to my ERD and then define populate the contents of the list, populate what should drop down here. So here now I can look for and just search for MIS test. So here you can see the name, the key we used to define our drop down. I'll call it get all NLWP and option list. Then here, this is a key value pair to define the contents of the list. So I'm just going to call it option 1 as the key. Then what the users will see is option 1. Call this option 2, and so on and so forth. Then save. So once I've saved this, you'll see a preview of if you've done it right or not. Then if I come back here and maybe attempt to edit that particular field, you'll see we now have option 1, option 2. So that we did not do at first. So one more thing I would like to talk about is to add a menu to an already existing menu. So in this case, we created a new menu. Say for instance, we wanted to add this new MIS menu to, say, the PMIS setup main menu. How do we go about that? So firstly, we need to go to the menu.php file, which is located, as I showed earlier, in settings, package. Our package is NFWP, then menu. So this file here, we need to search for the PMIS setup keyword for us to find the main menu it is under. So this is the key, this is the array of this particular PMIS setup main menu here. So in this case, I'm just going to copy everything and then show us how we can merge it. So in my case, instead of new menu here, I'm going to replace it with what we already have, which is this MIS setup, which is already existing here. And what I need to do is just bring this new MIS menu I want. So these manage country zone state list, all of them exist here. Look at them here. But I still want to retain them. I don't want to override the content. So I'm going to delete every other thing. And to delete this, all these are not important. So I'm just going to add another entry named type, a key called type, and I'm going to set the value to merge. So this way it is going to merge whatever I put in here with the current or whatever existing menus are in this particular main menu. So clicking on it again, you would see that my new MIS menu has been added to what we already have here. But if I did not set this to merge, you'd see it will override all what we had here. So the merge keyword helps to merge the menu to whatever menus we already have there. So that is how you add a menu to any of the navigation tab, any of the main menu on this particular project using the OD1 development, and how you can point it to where you want to point it to. In this case, our just created MIS test.